Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cousins, experiments, and aliens of all ages, we welcome you all to the wonderful world of Walt Disney's animation studios. Today we're going to be talking about Stitch the movie, Leroy and Stitch, Lilo and Stitch the animated series, etc. We are cheating. This is part of our Disney Eras series. We have been in the made-up era of direct-to-video Disney movies because they have their own kind of flavor, so I feel like it's okay to talk about them separately. So we had 3 movies picked out. This one was going to be Stitch the movie, and then because reasons, we are cheating and morphed it into like literally everything that happens to Lilo and Stitch post the original movie, because it all came either direct to video or direct to TV, as a series would be. And I think it's important to talk about. I am one of your co-hosts, Joshua Noel, here with the one and only TJ Blackwell. I think TJ would probably agree with me. Lilo and Stitch is like one of 3 or 4 of the Disneys where they have sequels that don't suck. Usually the direct-to-video sequel stuff that they do are not good. I think Lilo and Stitch, Toy Story, Lion King, those are like the big, Aladdin, maybe, big exceptions.
Yeah, this one, I will say this one technically is not direct-to-video.
Yeah, Leroy and Stitch is.
Everyone considers it. Yeah, everyone considers it direct-to-video anyway.
Yeah,
because it came out on TV and the DVD came out like 4 days later.
Yeah, but Stitch the movie was direct-to-video, I think.
No, I think it was the same way.
Was it? I don't remember. We're just lumping it together. We're cheating. We're cheating in several ways for this one, but it's fine. We're still going to include it as part of our Disney eras because we feel like it. Yeah, it's going to be fun to get into all of this. But before we do, TJ, what have you been geeking out on lately?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've gotten to answer this question. I'm going to go with Marvel Rivals. So good.
Yeah.
What a good game. Phenomenal.
I've heard good things. My best friend TJ, he played it. He says I should get into it.
Yeah. I've only put like 70 hours into it, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
79.
Yeah. I've actually really been getting into Creature Commandos, the James Gunn's first thing with the DCU animated series. It's really good. I really enjoy it. So if you got HBO Max, maybe check it out. Watch it with me. Let me know what you think. I enjoy it so far. Ending could suck. I'm recording this before the first season's over, so could end up being bad, but so far it's great. With that, guys, again, if you're on a laptop, please consider rating and reviewing our show on Podchaser or Good Pods. Doing one of those 2 specifically really helps the show get recognition, be easier to find on like Google and other search engines like that. But if you're listening on your phone, consider rating, reviewing, or commenting on our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those are the 2 largest podcast apps that people use to listen to podcasts. So rating, reviewing, commenting on those really helps prioritize our show on those apps' algorithms, which is a huge help, something you can do for free. And we just thank you all in advance for taking the 10, 15 seconds it took to do that. Also want to do another shout out. Thank you to the one and only Trip Fuller. He is one of our sponsors who gives the show like $3 or more a month. So he gets a special shout out. If you want to be like Trip, which you should probably drink a little bit more beer. But then also, if you want your own shout out, $3 a month on one of those platforms, Apple Podcasts, Captivate, or Patreon will get your own shout out on the show. This is the third film we've covered in the direct-to-video era of Disney animation. To get your whole series of reviews going through the different eras of Disney animation, make sure you check out the playlist in the show's description below. All right. Now, TJ, we're in the main event. We're going to be talking about lots of Lilo and Stitch stuff. But first, Stitch the movie, Lilo and Stitch the animated series, Lilo and Stitch 2, Leroy and Stitch. I think there was another movie too, but I don't remember what it was. Maybe I'm just thinking of the original Lilo and Stitch. Okay. Outside of the original Lilo and Stitch, how did you first get introduced to the animated series and these other movies?
As a kid, we watched this in daycare when it came out on DVD. This, Lilo and Stitch, Stitch the movie. We watched the TV series.
Yeah.
I was a child. Yeah. I was like 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. I very vaguely remember when Stitch the movie came out because I was excited for it and then watched it. I think I actually got it at Blockbuster. Watched it, and then I was like, this is just set up for a TV show. But then I really liked the TV show, so it was fine. Yeah, I was young enough to forget quickly.
Yeah. This is, I don't know, Lilo and Stitch stuck with me a lot more than I thought. Like going back and rewatching.
Oh, yeah.
Literally all of these movies over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it turns out I thought a lot of the stuff was all one movie that is just part of a bunch of different things.
It's just so good. So much better than I remember.
Yeah, same here, especially the show. I really thought, because I grew up in Florida for a large part of my childhood, and I loved certain shows that I go back to now, and most of them I'm like, wow, these are awful. Like the Timon and Pumbaa show. I loved that as a kid. It's not a good show. It's still funny. It's not very good. The Hercules TV show, I loved it. Also not very good. But the Lilo and Stitch animated series, it's still pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Same thing. I guess, for the most part, I was just younger and it was on TV, so I watched it. I wasn't in daycare. I probably mostly watched it because my brother wanted to watch it, but also I was always a big Disney nerd, so they were just there. But why Stitch the movie, the series, Leroy and Stitch, like what makes these things significant? Because I feel like, a lot of the other people forget that there's like 3 sequels to Cinderella and stuff, but like, why do these stand out as like people remember that they exist?
So I'm glad you mentioned it because these movies are all actually good. I think that's the main thing. Yeah. This is not the same direct-to-video slop that we got with the Cinderella sequels.
God.
Or
Beauty and the Beast sequels.
Like Lady and the Tramp 2.
I forgot about that.
Or Fox and the Hound 2, or Tarzan 2, or Pocahontas 2.
The Little Mermaid sequel also was not good in my opinion. I didn't like it.
Mulan 2. These are good.
Mulan 2 was really bad.
Pang, if you're listening, don't hurt us. Pang loves Mulan 2.
Yeah, it's awful though. As soon as Mushu spoke, I wanted to turn it off.
Yeah, but these movies are all good. They all still hold up. I feel like, personally, Stitch, the movie, is the weakest. And it sets up a TV show. So
I like Stitch the movie a lot. It's been a while since I've seen Lilo and Stitch 2, so I don't want to comment on it. But I feel like I remember liking Stitch the movie better than that one.
No,
but I think, honestly,
you need to watch.
I do feel like the TV show is better than Stitch the movie. And I think what's really weird, Leroy and Stitch, it's so good. Like, I really forgot. Like, I'm watching it. We're going to talk about some of this in a little bit, but I'm like, hold up. This is like the same kind of epic battle that happened with Endgame Marvel. Like, this was just like, hey, it's fan service and it's epic and it's good. And you don't get any like cheesy nonsense moments. It's like, oh, this is all actually makes sense and it's good and it's fan service.
Yeah.
And you even get the that annoying Guardians of the Galaxy thing where it's like, I'm gonna win with music. Except again, it made sense this time.
Yeah.
He's like, man, Leroy and Stitch did it first and maybe better.
I would say definitely better.
Sorry, Kevin Feige.
But I mean, so let's set up the timeline really quick.
Yeah.
So we get Lilo and Stitch, the first movie. Instant classic. Everyone loves it. despite the underhanded tactics that it's used to get the extra promotion that it had.
You're just upset
it's good.
that it undermined Treasure Planet for those listening who don't know.
Then, after that, came Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch is a glitch.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
And then we have Stitch the movie, which sets up the TV series. The TV series runs in its entirety of 54 episodes.
I don't know. I thought it was a lot longer than it is, it turns out.
And then we get Leroy and Stitch.
Yeah. The two weird timeline parts. I think Stitch the movie, chronologically, it happens after Lilo and Stitch 2, but I think it was released before Lilo and Stitch 2. Yeah. It was a weird thing.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Leroy and Stitch chronologically happens at the very end, but it happens before the last, it was released before the last episode of the show was released, which was only annoying because the experiment they find in the last episode of the show is in the movie, and you're just like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah, Angel.
Yeah, was that the last episode? Was it Angel? I thought it was 2 something. I don't know. I don't remember which one it was. It's been so long.
221.
No, that was from Stitch the movie, right? That was the electric one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
All of these, from after Stitch, Lilo and Stitch 2, the animation style is the same because it's the same team. Walt Disney, TV animation, export a little bit of animation to Taiwan, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just trying to remember it is kind of hard.
Yeah. What's different from the animation of these and the original movie? Is it just because it's the TV animators, or is it the same?
Yeah. It's just because it's the TV animators.
Yeah. There's very minimal differences that I noticed. Stitch looks a little bit different. The watercolors, they use the watercolor backgrounds like they use in the movie. It's still the same watercolor backgrounds, and it's beautiful. And I feel like that's really what gives it, for me, that's what gives Lilo and Stitch its flavor, which is why I'm kind of concerned about that the live action one. I'm still going to watch it, but I'm like, yeah, part of what makes Lilo and Stitch is those beautiful watercolor backgrounds, and you can't do that in live action.
And they got to reuse a lot of assets because the setting generally remains the same.
Yeah, which is pretty convenient.
Which is smart.
And it looks so good. Yeah. So as far as summarizing the plot of this, since we're cheating, do you think it's possible for you to lay out the plot from Stitch the movie all the way through to the end of Leroy and Stitch and make it make sense?
Yeah, let me think.
Yeah, I feel like you could.
About Stitch the movie.
Because the series is good, but I feel like you could summarize the series and they caught the experiments, gave them jobs.
So, in Stitch the movie, the Galactic Council decides Stitch needs to be taken back because he's a bad little guy. Right. So, they don't like that. Galactic Council tells them to round up every single alien that landed in Hawaii because they messed up the pod. Balls went everywhere, which is how they set up the TV show. But that happens at the end of the movie. And that whole time they're grappling with, no, you can't take the pods. No, you can't take Stitch for sure. And the pods go out, and that's how they set up the TV show, wherein they episodically find one alien at a time. Usually, I think they might have done a couple on some episodes.
Yeah.
There definitely are not 625 episodes. So
yet. Maybe they'll go back and do it.
Maybe they will.
I'm down.
Yeah, so don't look for that.
Hey guys, Christian here to talk about our Captivate options. That's when you send us a little extra money to just help us along with our projects. But what do you get by giving us that extra money? Well, you have access to any future online D&D campaigns. You get extra bonus question content, which we do at least 48 times a month. You can make a one-time donation here of any amount to help support the show. This helps us with our overhead. That includes the editing software that we use, the recording software that we use, the marketing that we have to do for the show, the equipment that we all need to use to help out with the show, and more. So thank you for what you do. Head out to Captivate, help us out. We really appreciate what you do. See you later.
And after the series, we get to Leroy and Stitch, which is the best way to say this. I literally watched it today. Why is it not making sense to me in my head? So, no, they get all the aliens. Grand Council rewards them all. Bleakley gets to be a professor at GACC, the community college, of course. Jumba gets his lab back. Stitch gets to be the commander of the flagship of the Galactic Council.
Big red battleship.
Everyone's, the big red battleship 9000. which is BRB 9000. Funny little. It's a kids show. And that makes Lilo super sad because all her friends are going to leave. So everyone goes out, tries to, they turn it down at first because Lilo felt bad, and they can't have Lilo feeling bad. So
accurate.
They go back to live on Hawaii. Lilo realizes everyone's sad and lets them go try and live out their lives. And then everyone realizes, I would rather just be on Hawaii with Lilo. So a couple of things happen. Hamsterville gets free. Jumba, before he realizes he wants to be back in Hawaii, creates Leroy 627.
628.
8, because he did 627.
Yeah, in the show. Ironically, they don't do all 625 other experiments, but they do take the time to go, one time Stitch pissed Jumba off, so we made another experiment that was better than him.
Yeah. So, 628, named Leroy, is just like Stitch, but red. And Hamsterville uses him to go capture literally every single cousin. And some things happen. Stitch, Jumba, Bleakley all get launched into a black hole. Black hole comes out prison on that asteroid where Jumba's breaking out Lilo and Reuben, 625.
Yes.
Who is genetically completely similar to Stitch, except mentally he only cares about sandwiches. Yeah.
Genius.
Love Reuben. And then they all group up, get back to Earth, save the cousins. The cousins fight Leroy Hamsterville and the army of Leroys. And it ends in a nice big battle sequence where it turns out the key is, what was the song? Aloha Oe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Genius.
Because as a going away present, Lilo gave Jumba her favorite Elvis record, which was, what's that record called? The one with Aloha Oe on it.
Also has the Lonesome
he
song,
plays that.
which was hilarious. Yeah.
And he plays Aloha Oe. And that's while he's making Leroy. And then they were like, Jumba's like, well, actually, if we play Aloha Oe, he should just freak out, not really be able to do anything. And that's what happens.
God, yeah, that was one of my favorite moments, too, because Jumba straight up, they're like, Lilo goes, Jumba, there's an army of Leroys. We're all losing. Do something. Use your bad genius skills. He's like, man, if I was really an evil genius, I would have put a shutdown code in him. He was like, oh, wait a minute. I did do that. So funny. It's like, hey, actually, you just turn them all off. Play a song. Yeah. It's perfect.
So that's basically what happened. Today's day and age, that probably would have just been released as like a 4-part mini-series, direct to streaming.
Yeah. I still would have watched it. It would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been good. Yeah. Probably 6-part miniseries, honestly.
I'm down. Yeah, a lot happens in that one. Like, a lot more happens in that one than Stitch the movie. Like, Stitch the movie, I like it, especially because it introduces Hamsterville and Reuben. Hamsterville was Jumba's partner in creating evil experiments. And he's like, hey, I want the experiments back. And Jumba's like, hey, I'm not as evil as I used to be. And then, they proceed to release all the experiments, and then the show happens, and Lilo and Stitch gives them all jobs too. They don't just capture them. Like, they're like, we're going to find exactly where you belong and then give you a job there. And I kind of wish that Lilo would find me and give me a job and find exactly where I belong. That'd be cool.
I know, right? You're too old for this, but right towards the end of my high school career, they started making us do I don't even remember what the test is called, but it's supposed to show you what you would be best at, like what field you would be best at. That's cool. And I was like, that's awesome. Let me take this. So they, it's some standardized test. You take the whole thing, and then when you get the results, it gives you a medal that like shows your overall performance, and it shades in a little part of the graph for you to let you know what field you should go into. And I got my results as gold medal, region 99, which means nothing.
Yeah, that's also a big part of the Star Wars Skeleton Crew thing too. Except for it does mean something in that show.
Yeah, that was really annoying to me. I got region 99, which meant choose whatever. So that was awesome. Thank you for making me take that test. South Carolina.
You can do whatever you want. Oh,
Great.
I kind of figured. Yeah.
I sure can. I was hoping this would tell me what I should do.
I wish someone was just like watching my life and was like, Josh, you're Reuben. Just make sandwiches.
Just make sandwiches, man.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. That's all I needed to do this whole time? Cool. I'm down.
Yeah.
But
buy a Subway.
God, I love him. He's so good. So if you had to rate like all of this together, like the post Lilo and Stitch era of Lilo and Stitch, 0 to 10, where would you put all of that?
You including
just collectively
Lilo and Stitch 2?
That's up to you.
If we're including Lilo and Stitch 2, it might be like 9.5.
Does that help it or hurt it?
It helps it. I think Lilo and Stitch 2 is just as good as Lilo and Stitch.
I don't remember it that well. I just remember not
Maybe
liking it as much as Stitch. I think I like Leroy and Stitch more than Lilo and Stitch. I really like Leroy and Stitch. It was a good movie.
They're all really good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Stitch the movie is what drags it down for me.
I really like Stitch the movie. I'm giving, from Stitch the movie all the way through Leroy and Stitch, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I like it a lot. Not as good as some of the other Disney movies. Like I would still rather watch Hercules, but this is honestly kind of close. Like it's good. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, and there's more content. Yeah, I mean, and it makes so much sense too. I think the thing that really is crazy to me now, and probably just because I was a kid, but maybe not. You know, you watch the first movie, it's like Experiment 626. I don't think anything about it. You know, maybe at most, I think my thought would have been, oh, it took him that long to get one that worked. And then like, nah, he just made 625 other ones.
It's like, no, they all work. They just weren't as good.
Yeah. Some are literally just perfect. Do lava. That's all they do. I think my favorite thing is one of them was just straight up a dog. They were like, you know what? Jabba was like, I got it. Puppy.
Dog. Gonna make a dog. And the way they like deal with the dog in the show is so funny. God, yeah. It's like, here you go, Myrtle.
Yeah. Like her bully, they just gift her a dog. But also it's definitely just an alien.
And no, it's really funny because throughout Lilo and Stitch, she thinks Stitch is a dog. And then she gets one of Stitch's cousins that is just a dog. God,
it was just so funny. The way they did that was truly one of the funniest episodes. Oh, man. So, all right, going through like the art animation stuff, I know they reuse a lot of the background. We talked about that. They do the 2D stuff a little bit, 2D stuff a little bit more. Saves money, which is why they promoted it over Treasure Planet, because it was kind of cheap to animate. Yeah. Stitch the movie.
No, that was the original Lilo and Stitch.
Oh.
That was not. It was cheaper, but it wasn't cheap.
Oh, yeah. But Stitch the movie, they have hidden Mickey Mouse symbols on the bars of soap, and that's kind of fun. Also, the animation for 221, the electric guy, was really cool. That's just a side note. It's really cool. The Leroy and Stitch, one of the fun things, this isn't about animation as much. It's just a fun little tidbit. Whenever they got sent to the black hole and they designated a number for it, that number that they sent Jamba and them to the black hole was the year that the movie The Black Hole came out. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah. It's just those little things. Do you have anything like animation wise that stood out to you or anything that you think would be worth mentioning?
They, you know, I mean, like obviously they cut some corners during animation.
Yeah.
But not in a way that would make the cousins suffer.
Yeah. Like each experiment really has its own unique animation, and it's good. Like none of them look bad. They're cool.
Yeah, they're all cool. They're really weird and super specific. Like one of them is just straight up a traffic light.
I forgot about that. I like the one that's...
How evil could that have been, Jumbo?
I like the one that was straight up a chef. He's got spatulas for hands. Like, you know what? I'm hungry right now. Yeah. I think he uses the word evil a little too loosely, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's fun stuff. Oh, also, I feel like it's important to note, because we mentioned earlier, Experiment 624, Angel. Straight up, just, they were like, what if Stitch had a girlfriend? They animated it. I'm curious, because, like, obviously the animated Stitch, knowing that he would be easy to replicate and they could put him on all the merch. I wonder if they did that intentionally with Angel, because, like, if you go to, like, Disney World and stuff, there's always Angel merch places. And she's straight up only from the show, and then Leroy and Stitch are the only places she shows up. She's not in the theater movie, but they sell her merchandise like she was.
Yeah, well, she gets, like...
And she's cute.
A few episodes. And she's in the anime.
Oh, is she in the anime? I forgot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so after all this, they make Stitch the anime that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And then it's Stitch in AI. Is that
with
what
an
it is?
exclamation point.
The other one?
I.
Oh, Lilo and AI. Or I.
No, it's Stitch.
Stitch in it?
Stitch and I.
Okay. Have you seen that?
No.
I haven't seen that either.
It's probably good.
Yeah. No, it's probably. Yeah. I mean, it's all just so good. But okay. So with this particular set movie that we're going from Stitch the movie to Leroy and Stitch, if you had to pick a favorite scene or episode, you can do an episode, I guess. Favorite song and favorite character from it all. What would you go with?
I don't know about my favorite episode. It's probably been too long since I saw the show.
Fair. Mine would be the dog. I just still think it's funny.
Yep. And then Sparky's episode is just Stitch the movie.
Yeah.
But favorite scene. Maybe when Stitch does get control of the BRB 9000 and he's just being himself.
Yeah.
He's running up to the new ship, climbs up the front, ignores the door, climbs in through the air manifold, gets into the bridge through the air vents. They're like, Captain on the ceiling?
God. Yeah, it was funny.
So funny. Like they really just gave a child complete control over a massive battleship. Songs? Every song's good. I really love it. The soundtrack for Leroy and Stitch is so good.
Yeah, they use so much Elvis.
Lilo and Stitch.
It's like asking what's your favorite Elvis song, and it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Jailhouse Rock was funny, especially since I had a hamster wheel stuck with all the other Leroy clones.
Jailhouse Rock was really funny, but for like Sleeper Pig, Alan Silvestri did the orchestral music for this, which he used Holtz's The Planets suite as inspiration for. So there are a few tracks in Leroy and Stitch that are gorgeous. So good. And so easy to miss, because the movie's also really good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you, what favorite character? You didn't do that yet.
Stitch.
Man.
I don't know. I do like Hamsterwheel a lot. I liked him a lot more when I was a kid.
Yeah. He's funny.
Yeah. He's just a little guy.
Man.
Also, my favorite scene might be actually Gontu breaking Hamsterwheel out of prison. The start of Leroy and Stitch.
Yeah.
Because he's just running through the prison with a massive gerbil in his hand, talking to it like it's Hamsterwheel, and then he walks past Hamsterwheel's cage. He's like, "You haven't freed me at all. You haven't even freed me yet. How are we going to escape?"
God, it was.
That is just a gerbil.
That scene is still just so funny. Oh man, I'm gonna put my favorite scene. I'm gonna be cheesy here, unfortunately, because like there's a lot of good funny scenes and even good action scenes. Like truly, the fight with Leroy and the clones was actually pretty epic. But I'm gonna make it from Leroy and Stitch my favorite scene. It's so Gontu. For me, Gontu and Ruben have like such a good character arc through all of this, and it helps that there was a show in between, so they had a lot of time. So he goes from like bad guy who works for the government and just does it because the government told him to do, and he's whatever, and then he ends up getting hired by Hamsterwheel, and he does all the evil acts, and it's like he finally learns to kind of think for himself in Leroy and Stitch. I feel like and starts doing the right thing because like maybe it's the right thing. And then at the end of the movie, he gets reinstated as like the chief police officer with the Grand Council woman. She offers it to him, and he straight up, instead of just accepting it and going with it, he said, "I have a condition." And the condition was, of course, to bring Ruben, aka Experiment 625, with him, because he actually developed a friendship with this experiment on Hawaii, who is just Stitch but likes to make sandwiches. And like all throughout, they make fun of each other. They call each other useless. Even earlier in the movie, like, he's useless. He's like, "Well, you like my egg sandwich?" He's like, "Well, it has too much mayonnaise." And then at the end, I think that's what's funny. Is like it's like a sweet moment, but it's also funny because he's like, "You're really going to bring me with you? You really care that much?" Because he's like going to appoint him as an officer. He's like, "Well, I've grown really fond of your egg sandwich, your egg salads." And I was like, that's just funny because it's true to both of their characters, and it's also a sweet moment. They were never going to.
And when Gontu leaves to get Hamsterwheel, Ruben's getting left behind. He's like, "You're going to miss my egg salad." And Gontu says, "Not enough mayonnaise, too much dill."
Oh yeah, that was a funny joke too, because he goes, "What did you call me?" That was just funny.
Yeah, because he says dill weed.
Yeah, which was so funny. also definitely went over my head as a kid, but it's fine. Yeah. And just, that little acknowledgement, even though it was still playing into the joke of the egg salad, but like, it was still an acknowledgement of like, they have a real friendship. They've both grown, in this movie, you see where like, Ruben went from just the evil guy sidekick to trying to like learn to be on his own person and figure out where he belongs in Hawaii. And he's like, actually, I just kind of like miss my friend. So them being reunited, even though they were like the bad guys of the show, sort of, being reunited and then going back to the good side, it was like, yeah, it was rewarding. I guess that was it. It was a really rewarding arc for me with their characters. Yeah. All right. So, with all that, I'm trying to figure out, did we do this other stuff? I guess we did. I want to get to some of like the more theological, deeper stuff to talk about when it comes to all this. Because a lot of like Lilo and Stitch gets to this idea of, it hits on a few different things. I'm trying to figure out what I want to start with. Let's start with what happens in Leroy and Stitch. Because you have where they're all offered like their dream jobs and they want to take it. So they end up leaving Hawaii after Lilo learns to let them go. And then Passenger plays, you only know you love her when you let her go. I mean, that doesn't happen, but it does in my mind. She lets them go. Then they all go and they realize that they miss home. And there's a little bit of an interesting commentary on like, where do we belong? Do we belong where we have a job that we really like? Do we belong somewhere just because our family is there? That kind of thing. And that's something, I don't know, I wrestle with maybe more than TJ does. We'll see. Because, I have a lot of family in Kentucky. Part of me would love to be in Kentucky. But also, there's nothing to do with Kentucky. Like, as far as like what I want to do with my career, like whether it be law, professor, whatever, Kentucky just really won't be a good option for any of that. So I don't know. But TJ, you ever wrestle with that kind of question, or like what's your take on how we find where we belong? Is it family, job, friends?
It's just the people you love. You don't have to be genetically similar.
But you think you should be with people you love more than where you can find a good job?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're like, if you're like three dudes chilling, loving life in the actual middle of nowhere on like an ice cap in a tent, you guys should probably move somewhere you can get a job.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think this might depend person to person. I think love is worth more living for love than anything else. But if you're miserable where you're at, you'll probably find a way to go somewhere where you can get a job you like, find people you love there, or commute, travel back and see the people you love. I don't want people staying in a job they hate either. I think that's part of what does bother me a little bit about the movie is I'm like, I get it. It wrapped up nice and all, but like Stitch definitely should be piloting a battleship. It makes him too happy for him not to get to do it.
Yeah, but he's sad because Lilo's not there.
Yeah. But maybe they could build like a star base a little bit closer to Earth so he can hang out with Lilo. Then when there's a job to do, he can go off and get in a ship.
He's just so lonesome.
Yeah. I don't know. The other thing, neurodivergence is a big theme throughout all of Lilo and Stitch. You kind of see where Lilo is a little bit different. They kind of make hints at that. A lot of your experiments are very clearly like Ruben, just straight up. He's just Stitch, but with like a little bit of autism, a little bit of hyperfixation specifically on sandwiches, but there's still a place he belongs. There's still like relationships he's able to build. What do you think the series says about like neurodivergence and how we handle that and find where we belong kind of stuff?
I've never considered that angle once.
Well, what about now that I've asked? Well, how do you handle ideas of neurodivergence?
Well, I think it is possible, whatever you're comfortable with, to find a job doing that. The TV series does a pretty good job of saying, like, hey, no matter what your skill set is, there is something for you to do.
Yeah.
And if you are 15 feet tall and your head has lights on each side that are red and green, I know exactly what you can do.
Specifically be a traffic light.
Yeah. I hope you like standing in the middle of an intersection.
If you like making sandwiches that much, just make sandwiches. I think what I like that the show does is it doesn't just do like representation with that kind of stuff. I feel like it kind of creates a permission structure. I don't think a lot of people put that much thought into it, but I do think it is intentional in how it does this a little bit. It gives you a permission structure to be weird. It's probably more so than neurodivergent. But I do like that. And it gets a lot to, we're going to be talking to Aaron Simmons soon. Some of his philosophy stuff that he talks about with like Kierkegaard and how like that thing that makes you alive, you should do that because it's worth your finitude. So whether you're neurodivergent or not, if for some reason you're just passionate about sandwiches and it makes you feel alive, then it is worth your time on this planet to just make sandwiches. If it's something else, I think the question gets a little bit trickier whenever it's like, hey, Jamba, he, being an evil genius makes him feel alive. Should he be an evil genius? I don't know. Seems like he defines evil pretty loosely, so he could probably still do it. As long as by evil he means create puppies. It's probably fine.
Yeah. Also, it's really funny that Jumba goes through the whole TV series and the first and second movie and last movie. Well, and as soon as he gets his lab back, he's like, all right, time to be evil again.
You've just been waiting this whole time. I can't wait to create something evil.
It gets back in the lab and immediately he's like, all right, I can finally make anti-aircraft lollipops.
Literally creates exploding boom boom juice for his new experiment. Just so funny. All right, last thing that I think could be important, theological, philosophical, whatever, to consider. And you see this in all of the series and shows and movies, etc. There's kind of this like, it tiptoes around that cultural appropriation kind of conversation of like, are you participating in the culture or are you appropriating it? You know what I mean? Like Stitch is very clearly not Hawaiian, but he lives on Hawaii and that is part of who he is now. So obviously no one takes offense to him saying aloha, but like, when they incorporate some of these culture into like literal aliens from outer space come and then they incorporate aloha into the Galactic Council, you're like, what? Are they appropriating? Are they respecting the culture? Are they learning from the culture? Like what is the difference between learning from a culture and respecting it and then appropriating it as someone who doesn't really belong to it?
Well, they all live in Hawaii, which I feel like is the appropriate place to appreciate, practice Hawaiian culture.
Yeah. Even if you're not Hawaii?
Yeah.
Because like if I were to go to, I don't know, insert place here. I'm trying to think of the least offensive thing I can say here. Not really sure. If I were to go to, no, that's definitely not it. Let's go with Australia.
Russia.
Yeah, sure. Russia. We don't care if we offend Russians. If I go to Russia and I just start like eating and acting like a Russian, I feel like that's still cultural appropriation. Like I shouldn't do that.
No, that's what you should do.
Dress like a Russian when I'm clearly not a Russian.
You should enjoy the culture while you're there.
Yeah.
Respect it.
But I can't take it back with me.
You can take back a little bit.
Okay. But like, okay, so for like the ground
things like food.
Yeah, food's good. I love other cultures' food. But like I can't dress like a Russian here because I went once. Now I think they're cool and I identify as Russian.
Yeah, don't
do that. Mm-mm. Okay. So, but like, what about in the Leroy and Stitch when the Grand Council decides they're going to start using aloha at their meetings? Is that cultural appropriation at that point? Or are they just learning from Hawaii?
I think a little bit, yeah. No, I think it's a little
appropriation. They shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, in that specific scenario, they're already in a society where they've like formed such an amalgam of languages. You gotta assume they're just using bits and pieces of
all of them.
So many different ones.
Yeah.
They just throw aloha in there.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah. So if you're watching these movies, you shouldn't start calling everybody cousin or anything like that, or wear hula skirts everywhere.
Yeah.
Did Elvis do cultural appropriation, or did he spend enough time in Hawaii that it was fine?
No, he did cultural appropriation really bad, like a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know he used what was considered black people music, and he just kind of made it his own. But he also definitely did that with Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And then just profited off of all of it.
Yep. Bad guy.
All right. That's it. If you're getting something theological out of this, just know that you shouldn't be like Elvis. I think that's the main takeaway from this episode, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Also, maybe watch all of the Lilo and Stitch sequels. Literally all of them. They're great. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We will have a bonus question afterwards for people who are on Patreon, Captivate, or Apple Podcast. You'll get to hear us answer which experiment would we most want to spend time with. Just hang out. And now we will give a recommendation for everybody, something that they should read, listen to? Anything like that? Play, perhaps? I had something. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I'm reading Shangri-La Frontier right now. It's a manga. It's really good. Or might I recommend that we all go watch Stitch with an exclamation point?
The anime?
The Stitch anime, yeah.
Yeah, I do want to do that. That's a good recommendation.
Apparently, Angel's in it a lot.
I heard that some of the other experiments that were introduced in Leroy and Stitch that weren't in the TV series do show up in the anime, Stitch the anime. So that might also be a good reason to see it.
Yeah, maybe we should check it out.
I'm going to recommend, there's a graphic novel version of Beowulf. It's kind of cool. It's not the best by any stretch. You should just read Beowulf, but if you've already read Beowulf, check out the graphic novel. It's interesting, you know? Yeah. All right. So with that, guys, if you're on the laptop, again, remember, please rate and review our show on Podchaser or Good Pods, one of those two specifically, because it helps Google and other search engines think that we are important. So manipulate them, please. If you're on your phone, consider rating, reviewing, or commenting on our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's going to help prioritize our show in one of those algorithms, and those are the two largest podcast apps that people use. So we thank you so much for your support in advance. I know it takes like 15 seconds of your time, so we do appreciate that, but it is free, so that's cool. Also want to do another shout out for Trip Fuller. We love you, Trip. We truly do. We love you so much, man. And if you want your own shout out, we might not give you as much love as Trip because, you know, Trip's a little special, but we will give you a shout out if you can donate at least $3 a month on one of those three platforms: Apple Podcasts, Captivate, or Patreon. So if you want a shout out, consider it. Be like Trip. He's cool. If you want to see more of our Disney Eras episodes, there's a link down below with the whole playlist. This is the only time I think we've cheated this bad. So the rest of them are actually just about single movies. And remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Hey guys, Christian here. Have you ever wondered why you should become a patron? Well, let me help you out. Because if you become a patron, what you can do is have live access to our YouTube exclusives like Comic Book Ketchup, Drinks with Teachers, Manga Mustard, and a companion series that go along with our annual theme. You can be there live, commenting with us. We really want you there. You also get access to exclusive merch. We have t-shirts, mugs, handbags, long sleeve shirts, all over the place for you, for your help in helping us. Also, we have extra bonus questions for you to look at. We have 4 to 8 times a month doing that. We have exclusive Discord channels for you, discounts at our store, access to any future D&D campaigns, and you can easily access all the patron content through our Spotify page at the top where it says exclusive content for subscribers. Also, one of the new things we're adding is voting privileges for future episode topics. We're going to be doing specific things for you, voted by the patrons, and you also get that extra satisfaction of just helping us out, and we appreciate all you do.
Hello, friends. If you like systematic ecology, then there's a host of other podcasts in our network that we think you will like just as much. And so we're a part of the Anazal Ministry Podcast Network, and we hope that you can hop over and subscribe with all the podcasts that are in our network. Like, for instance, The Homily, which is, Pastor Will Rose's sermon here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. You have another podcast called The Whole Church Podcast, the OG, the originals, the beginner of it all. Yes, Joshua, Noel, and TJ working for unity among the church and having great conversations with the wide spectrum of those who are involved in Christian ministry and the church. You have My Seminary Life by Brandon Knight, who's discussing what he's learning in seminary, he is learning in his theological studies and bringing to the surface those big things that we're wrestling with and thinking through theologically in the church and beyond. There's the Let Nothing Move You podcast from Christian Ashley, who is walking through the Bible in a very Bible study type fashion and walking through the biblical narrative. You have Dummy for Theology. I don't think Joshua is a dummy, but hey, he's going to lift up theological themes that he's thinking about and wrestling with. And maybe there's not a lot of answers, but there's definitely a lot of great questions out there that he's lifting up with some great theologians across the whole spectrum of Christianity. And then there's the Bible After Hours. Man, if you like to get risky, if you like to get controversial, there's this foul-mouthed preacher who goes from goes through the Bible from a more progressive point of view, challenging the status quo of the modern church. Yeah. You don't want any kids around with that podcast. And then you have the Clydes, one of my favorite couples that I like to listen to. One of the hosts here on Systematic Geekology, Taylor and Elizabeth Clyde, go through weekly discussions and kind of a devotional, conversational method of what's going on in their lives, where they see God moving in their lives, and what God is up to in the world. So those are the podcasts, a part of the AMP network. Subscribe, follow. We hope you can be a part of all that great network with the wonderful podcasts at AMP.